Hey everybody, Carl from Cheap Smut. Normally this is the part of the show where we have the cold open, something funny that happened while the mics were on, but we weren't necessarily recording the episode. But I wanted to take a few seconds to offer a small apology because early in the episode, much like last week, we broke our rule. Specifically, I broke the rule twice and said one of our children's names on the show, and so you're going to have a couple of beeps. I know that kind of can bother some people and break up the flow, so I just wanted to let you know that... God damn it.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Cheap Smut. My name is Katie Mizell.
And my name is Carl Mizell.
And this is a podcast about books about fucking.
Keep it simple, stupid. Just kiss. Although we have to come up with maybe something similar to that has the letters F-U-C-K.
Okay, yeah.
Or smut or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically it. She reads books about fucking, and then she comes and tells me about them, and then you guys listen and hopefully are entertained.
Hopefully. That's the point.
That's the whole circle of all this. But would we do this if people... would we still do this if people didn't listen? Yes.
Yes,
because
we would.
This is fun, because this is what we do anyway, just sans microphones most of the time. So I had to talk over that vape. Now that you have vaped...
Sorry. That was a terrible sound. I won't do it again.
Yeah, no, I really hope I can edit that out. How are you?
Well, you know how I am.
I mean, I know how you are big picture, but lie to the audience.
I'm doing okay. I'm having a hard time of it mentally right now, but I did make an appointment with a new therapist's office today, so hopefully I will be getting some help for that soon. Otherwise, I was very impressed with our 5-year-old tonight. He read me 2 books before bed. He read me books before bed. And he got most of them right without my help, which is very impressive.
So did you introduce him to Molly Harper? Or?
No, tonight it was Dr. Seuss.
Okay.
The Shape of Me and Other Things, and also Pete the Cat's Happy Halloween were the 2 books we read tonight.
Fucking love Pete the Cat.
Pete the Cat, he's one groovy dude.
He is the grooviest. Yeah, he's blowing my mind on a daily basis.
Who, Pete?
No.
No, don't say his name.
That's all right. It's okay. I learned how to bleep last week, so I'll do it again.
Yeah. We try very hard not to say our children's name on the podcast because, I want to keep some amount of privacy for them. Nobody needs to know what their names are.
Yeah. It's beep. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's a weird... maybe I'll just edit that out. Anyway, no, but a big day. I'm taking him tomorrow. This weekend, as we record this, is Motor City Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I've got some friends down there who are tabling, who are artists. And I was like, you know what? I'll go see them. Take... 2 beeps. We went like 12 episodes without doing it. Now we've done it back-to-back episodes. I'm going to take our son down there to his first con, and he's going to be very excited. He's already very excited to see how many Spider-Men he can find.
Yeah.
And maybe a Pikachu or 2. He wants to, maybe see some robots, hopefully. But we'll see. But anyway, I apologize for the beeps, but Kate's right. We do like to try and maintain some level of privacy for our children and for our own lives, because it's, it's ours.
Yes.
So, having said all that, let's just get into it.
All right, let's do it. This week we are reading The Dalwick Demon by Ashley Bennett. It's a novella. It's not particularly long. I think it's like 150 pages. It's adorable. Ashley Bennett writes a style of romance called cozy romance.
Oh.
Meaning that there's low angst. The stakes are emotionally fairly low. It's comforting and comfortable to read, and nothing truly bad happens to anyone, and it's nice.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
I considering some of the very dark books that you have presented to me, some of which are just dark, some of which are just toxic. Like, I should have been wearing a hazmat suit while I listened to you talk about that. I'm down for that. I felt that way about the Vampire in the Bookstore.
Yeah, the Vampire in the Bookstore is great. It's like that. L.M. Drew writes similarly, like it just good things happen and lots of people have orgasms and love. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
Ashley Bennett also wrote another book that I really love. I have not read the whole series yet, but the first book in the series is called Muscles and Monsters. It's part of the Leviathan Fitness series. It's about a bunch of dudes who work at a gym who just happen to be monster men. And it was great. It was great. It was about a woman who works at a bakery and falls in love with the Wolfman who works at the gym next door.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised that you haven't brought that one to my attention yet, or tried to bring that to the show, considering what a gym rat I am.
Yeah, I considered telling you to read the second one, which is called Tentacles and Triathlons.
See, if they called it Triathlons and Tentacles, you'd have me in the first half. But you would decidedly lose me in the second half.
Oh, tentacle books are great, man. I like a tentacle book sometimes. They're fun.
I still, going back to our first book, or our first episode, the Lady of Rooksgrave Manor.
Yep.
Women being tossed up in the air and caught on a tentacle by the vagine. No, thank you.
Well, this one doesn't have tentacles in it, but it does have a weird dick. So we'll get to that at some point.
Yeah. Sound the weird dick alarm.
Ding, 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 ding. Anyway, so this book, The Dalwick Demon by Ashley Bennett, is available on Kindle for $2.99 or through Kindle Unlimited. There is quite a long content warning list. It is low stakes. These are mentions of things. They're not things that happen on page. They're not things that are particularly difficult for me to bear emotionally. But the content warnings are still appreciated for people who have a different set of content standards that they need.
Of course.
So, mentions of physical and sexual assault, including physical assault of a sex worker, mentions of parental death, religious undertones and religious trauma, double penetration, double vaginal penetration, temperature play, rimming and anal play, tail play, degradation, praise, and the use of a contraceptive are all listed at the beginning of her book. That is her list.
Holy.
What?
That's a lot. That's a lot. But I can't remember what you said last night, but you said something last night, and I was like, oh, sounds like a spoiler for the book we're doing this week. It was something, it was a joke you made about basically DP.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
We'll get to it. It is fun. It is fun.
Or as I like to call it, the ultimate trust exercise.
Shall we get into it, my dear?
Yes, but one at a time. All right.
Okay. All right. So our FMC this week, her name is Iris. Iris is a sex worker. She's making her ends meet the best that she can after her parents' deaths. She lives in the town of Graftsburg, which is a nebulously medieval sort of fantasy town. The whole thing sort of has undertones of like Puritanism. Iris is at the beginning of the book sitting in bed next to a sleeping client when a bunch of men just bust down her door. And these men are all from town. They include some prominent figures and also the new fire and brimstone preacher, who has come to accuse her of prostitution, theft, and witchcraft, quote from the book.
And it was so urgent they had to break down the door.
Yeah, seriously.
Quick.
Her sentence is immediate death by sacrifice to the demon who lives in the Dalwick cave. No trial. Nothing even remotely legal about this. Just a bunch of guys from town throw a woman in a cave.
Thanks, the patriarchy.
Fucking thanks, the church.
Also
that. You
that.
can just get away with all of this shit. Anyway, so Iris is dragged out of town, kicking and screaming, proclaiming her innocence. I mean, obviously she is a sex worker. She's not saying she's not a sex worker or a thief because she is poor. And crimes like theft and sex work are, if you consider sex work a crime, are crimes of desperation, right? So she's poor. She stole shit so that she could eat, right? But she's definitely not a witch, and she wants everybody to know that she is not a witch. But she is thrown very unceremoniously into the mouth of a pit cave, a cave that goes straight down. And that's it. Iris has been removed from the town.
I love the idea that maybe somehow the guy who was in bed slept through all of it, and then he just wakes up.
Yeah,
door's busted down. She's gone.
I love the reality of the fact that this man who hired a sex worker is not in any way judged or punished for hiring a sex worker, but the sex worker herself is thrown into a pit.
He's not also in the pit.
Yeah. Yeah. Jesus Christ, the double standards. Anyway, so Iris lands on a bed of moss inside this cave, and the cave is like a big bubble in the ground, sort of the way it's described, and it is like perfectly smooth sides and perfectly clear floor, and it's dark.
So it's a tidy demon.
Yeah, he's very tidy. He's very sweet. We'll get to him. I really enjoyed him. She begins to just walk through the dark. She doesn't have a way to get back out of the cave. The walls are smooth. They can't be climbed. And also, like, from the way when she lands looking up, she can like barely see the silhouettes of the men looking down from the pinpoint of light. Like, the cavern is pretty deep, so there's no way to get back out. So she decides she's just going to start walking into the cave. She's terrified. The stories about the demon who lives in Dalwick Cave are enough to keep most people in line in this town. But she doesn't have another choice. As soon as she lands, though, from the perspective of the demon in the cave, he hears her fall. He hears her land, and he immediately is just like, fucking goddamn it, another one? Why do these people keep throwing fucking people into my cave? God damn it. He does not eat people. He never hurts any of them. He goes to find her, his newest quote-unquote sacrifice, because what he does is he finds them and he helps them. He doesn't leave them to die in the cave where he lives. He helps them. So he calls out to her as soon as he can see her in the dark, because he's got, he's demonic night vision or whatever. And he calls out to her, but he scares the shit out of her with his like deep, bellowy, gravelly demon voice. And she starts running in the opposite direction. In the dark, she can't see for shit. And eventually he chases her, because he's trying to make sure she doesn't kill herself in the process of running through these caves. But she's just terrified. And eventually she trips and falls, and she hits her head and she knocks herself unconscious.
Convenient.
Yeah. He picks her up. She has managed to run her feet raw on the cave floor, because she's also barefoot and in like a night dress. The people in the town didn't care whether or not she lived or died, so they certainly weren't going to let her have like appropriate clothing for spelunking.
You should dress in layers.
Yeah.
It gets cold down there.
You're going to need some good boots.
Yeah.
You're going to be walking a lot.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, we are going to throw you in a pit, but we're not monsters.
The monster lives in the pit,
yeah,
as far as they're concerned.
We're just following orders.
Authority should always be questioned, guys. If just following orders should not extend to, we were just following orders when we threw that woman into the pit to be eaten by a demon. We were just following orders when we murdered someone.
Think critically. Raise your hand. Say, I don't know. This feels wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Are you sure about this?
Yeah.
Reverend Jackass?
That's it. That's all you got to say.
Then they'll throw you down in the cave too, probably, because that's how the church works.
But you've got a better chance if you are a straight, white, landowning male. That works in your favor.
So he picks her up and he carries her back to his home cave, the place where he has made his home, and he cleans her feet and dresses her wounds and wraps them while he waits for her to wake up. When she does wake up, she freaks out, but he gets her to calm down pretty fast by just offering her food and water and sympathy and basic like human respect,
and pointing out there are not giant piles of bones.
Yeah, he doesn't ever actually say anything, but that like about the fact that he doesn't eat people until later. But use your context clues. There's no like bodies or dead people hanging from the ceiling or anything weird like that. So this demon introduces himself at this point. His name is Selvin, and he is over 6 feet tall. I put jacked ? Because I can never remember how you differentiate the different kinds of muscle people.
Yeah, there's buff, jacked, and ripped.
Yeah. So he's like a big, burly guy.
I'd say that's jacked.
He's jacked. Okay. So he is jacked. He has horns that the traditional demon style horn, they're big and they grow out of his head like a bull or something like that. One of them is intact and the other one is broken. He has golden eyes with cat-like pupils, crimson skin, and he radiates warmth. He has black hair and a full beard that is well maintained, and a tail, which is prehensile and has like a little tuft of black fur on the end of it. And he wears a kilt at all times. I wonder if he has cloven feet. They never say. It'd be interesting if he did.
Yeah.
I always think of demons as having cloven, little clip clop feet. Clip clop, clip clop.
Every so often, I think I know we sometimes mock our pets for not having thumbs, but I wonder if we're ever mocked for not having prehensile tails, because I think that is something that I could use.
Well, I mean, our pets couldn't mock us because our pets don't have prehensile tails either. But monkeys could mock us.
Yeah.
Look at those fucking dumb big apes. They don't even have tails.
Yeah. I just think it'd be cool to have a prehensile tail.
Oh, that would be great. I would love to have a prehensile tail.
That's
a whole extra appendage to grab shit with.
Yep.
I would love it.
That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I already don't have pockets. I've told you this many times that women have evolved what I call the claw of doom, where you can hold 16 things in your hand.
Yep.
Because we don't have pockets. I could hold so much more shit if I had a prehensile tail. I could wrap it around stuff. I could have 9 things and my keys dangling off the end.
The first time I saw you reach into your shirt,
yes,
and pull something out of your bra like a sexy magician. I was like, what are you doing? The idea that I would
abracadabra, baby.
The idea, aboob-cadabra. Yeah, boo.
Abracadabra.
The idea, abracadabra. Oh, that's even better. The idea that I would have to store something right here. I don't even I love this necklace that I wear all the time, but sometimes it hits just right, in my right between my pectorals. And it drives me nuts. But anyway,
I'm used to it though, because I wear underwire bras. I choose to wear underwire bras, so I am very used to a constant pressure right on my sternum at all times, because they will just push right there on the middle of your breastbone. So
welcome to Body Talk with Kate and Carl.
It doesn't bother me none to store shit in my bra. I do not, however, store money, credit cards, or anything I will have to hand to another person, because that's nasty.
No, because
nobody needs my boob sweat in their hand.
Yeah.
And people who do that, I think they are gross. I'll store shit for my own convenience in there.
Yeah, when I worked at Rite Aid, there used to be people that would come in and pull it out of their socks and stuff, and I just want to be come back around here, just push these buttons. Take your change. Don't.
Please don't touch me. Don't make me touch that. I will glove up.
Gross.
I will glove up if I have to touch your sweaty money. And that's saying something, because I used to work at a roller rink with little kids, and they would hand me sticky dollar bills all the time.
Yeah, they would.
Ugh. Anyway, okay, so back to our story. Selvin tells her he doesn't eat people. He has never eaten people. What he does is he guides them under the mountain through the cave system to the other side of the mountain to a town called Belden, where he knows people who will help the quote-unquote sacrifices establish a new life in a place that is safe. Everywhere outside of Grafsburg, outside of the town on the human side of the mountain, has magic in it. And they all practice its use freely and regularly. Iris doesn't even think that that's real. It's so forbidden to even talk about magic that she thinks that it's a myth. Mm-hmm. But the rest of this land, wherever they are, has magic. And she's like, I don't believe you. And so to prove it, he clicks his fingers and makes a fire in his palm, because he's pyrokinetic. Mm-hmm. He can make fire with his mind. She's immediately intrigued. She wants to go to Belden, and she also really wants to learn magic. Mm-hmm. So they will leave in the morning. But he gives her food and water and a pain tonic for her feet, and tells her to go to sleep, get some rest, because they're going to be walking all day for several days to get to the other side of the mountains. The next morning, he gives her another tonic for her pain and wraps her feet in leather strips so that she's not walking on linen clad feet when they're all torn up and nasty like that, and they walk into the cave tunnels to begin their journey. And it's not dark in there because our favorite thing, bioluminescent mushrooms. Selvin has bred bioluminescent mushrooms in the tunnels to light the path, which is super fucking cool. I love bioluminescence.
It's the best.
Anything that glows, really. Anything that glows that's alive, that's cool as shit. That's cool as shit. That's all there is to it. On the walk, they get to know each other. Selvin tells his story. So he is what's called a cambion, which is half man, half demon. I don't hear the word cambion very often, so I was very excited to see it in print. I almost wrote a story about one. Technically, I'm still working on it, but that he's not a cambion, he's a firbolg. Anyway, Selvin's mother was a sex worker, and his father was a client of hers who was a demon in disguise as a human. And she got pregnant. When he was born, apparently, according to him, the nursemaid took one look at him and immediately screamed that he was the spawn of the devil and ran. Mm-hmm. So he's also from Graftberg.
Easy mistake to make,
right?
When you see something like that.
Very similar story to the New Jersey Devil, by the way.
Yeah.
The New Jersey Devil was born to a woman, and the second that they saw him, they screamed. And anyway, his mother raised him in secret until he was a young man, but they were discovered by the town, and they were tossed into Dalwick Cave as punishment. Back then, it wasn't a sacrifice. He is the demon of Dalwick Cave. When they were tossed into the cave mouth, his mother grabbed him and turned them so that she would land first. She broke his fall and she died right there in the mouth of the cave, which is very, very sad. And he survived down there by eating the rotten food that the townfolk continued to throw down there, because I guess they assumed that the demon didn't die in the fall. Mm-hmm. Maybe they assumed the demon is unkillable. And for some reason they decided to throw rotten food down there for him to eat instead of just starving him out.
Yeah, but what about the demon's feelings?
Nobody gives a shit about feelings in Grafsburg, obviously.
Jesus.
It's the worst parts of humanity in one little town. So while he was down there, he discovered his pyrokinesis. He built a home for himself. He went a little feral because he didn't have anyone to help raise him, and he was still just a young man, but he's doing okay. Now, when people get thrown down to sacrifice to him, he makes sure that they land safely. He's the one that planted the moss bed at the bottom of the cave, and he's the one who smoothed the edges of the cave out so that people wouldn't get beaten up by it like his mom did on the way down. Mm-hmm. And then he takes them to the town over and helps them start a new life. His story makes Iris cry, and they sort of comfort each other in the dark of the caves there for a little while. That quickly it goes from being emotional to being intimate really fast, and there's like a 90-10 moment. They almost kiss, but Selvin pulls back away from her. They continue walking, and Iris tells her story. Her parents were wealthy merchants, but her mother died, and her father couldn't cope, and he became an alcoholic and a gambler, and eventually he died as well. And now she's doing what she can to survive, and doing what you can often means theft and sex work. He tells her that my notes are wrong. I wrote, Selvin tells her to let other people make her feel small, but I think I meant not let other people make her feel small.
I would like to think so, because I know that is not something that you would be cool with.
No, that's not the sentiment I want to share with any person. But yeah.
No.
Selvin tells her not to let other people make her feel small. She says, fucking same to you, buddy. And then they kiss. And I said, oh, they're trauma bonding. That's not actually what trauma bonding is. Just to be clear, trauma bonding is part of an abuse cycle. This is not an abuse cycle. I just made a silly joke. At this point in the book, he calls her his little angel, and she calls him precious. They have a very emotionally intimate moment between two people who have only had two conversations up to this point in time, but they're very quickly drawn together. I wouldn't necessarily call it an insta-love book, but we're not earning our affection here. It's just freely given.
Yeah. It's a novella. They gotta,
Yeah, we gotta just move it right along. Yeah. After they walk a little while longer, because her feet are hurting her, he carries her until they reach a hot spring underneath the mountain where she can soak her feet and change her dressings. She asks if she can take a bath, and he's like, yeah, absolutely. So she gets naked, and then he decides to join her. And Selvin has weird dicks. Plural.
It's a cheap smut first,
Yeah.
I think.
2 dicks, 1 man.
Yeah.
It is a first for us on this show so far. So he has two cocks stacked on top of each other vertically, one right above the other. They are also sort of ridged like
The
Ice Planet Barbarians. Yes. And she said they leak a clear fluid, which... So I have very strong feelings about bodily fluids in books and in the real world. And in books, when men have like a lot of pre-cum, I'm like, what the fuck? I don't know why. It's just not for me. I'm not used to it. I don't think it's... I think it's weird.
No, that's fair.
Yeah. So they're very leaky. They make their own lubricant, I guess. Let's just go that way with it. So
Is that common in these books that you read, where like there's a lot of
not usually, no.
Cowper's fluid, I believe is the technical term?
No, not unless you're reading an orc book.
Are the orcs known for their pre-cum?
No, the orcs are known for their massive amounts of semen.
Okay.
Like massive. I was actually on TikTok the other day, and I was watching a video. Somebody made a video of, it was some kind of pipe, like a large pipe, and it was just spewing this sort of semi-clear fluid. And Emmeline Quinn had made a stitch of it, and she was like, I've read too many orc books. It's unique, I think, to the orc. So if you've got like a cum fetish, read an orc book, because that's where you're going to find the good stuff for you. But
you're like a smutty librarian.
Yeah, I am a bit like a smutty librarian. I could tell you basically where to find whatever kink you want.
All right.
I think I've read one of every kind at this point.
All right.
Up to a point.
Selvin, pre-cum.
Selvin, sorry.
No, so I feel like we're really digressy tonight. So.
Oh. Okay, so he climbs into the hot spring with her, and he washes her hair for her before they move on into the sex. He asks her what she likes, what she's into, and she is shocked, because in all of her time as a sex worker, you can 100% guarantee no one has ever asked her what she wants.
No.
Ever. And she asks for degradation. She asks to be called a little whore. Normally... he would never.
No, I never.
No, you never. But if it's what she wants, it's what she wants. And there's nothing wrong with it, as long as you are getting consent in advance to call people mean names.
Yeah. I'm not a monster. I'm a demon.
My note just says Selvin has a forked tongue. So Selvin also has a forked tongue. I forgot about that part. All right. So where were we? Oh, yes, they were having sex. Okay. Some of the mechanics on how this works. So in this scene, the lower dick is in her, and the upper dick is like rubbing on her clit.
Okay.
So there is enough malleability. It doesn't stick like straight forward. And then she asks for both. And so he DPs her. A DP with one person. Wow. Yeah. Special fancy sex.
Versatility.
Seriously. So he is very careful. He is very attentive.
You'd have to be.
This is the first time that she has ever felt cared for or respected in any capacity while having sex. So it just like blows her mind. I was just like, oh my God, this poor woman. This poor fucking woman. I wrote the DP scene was fire emoji. Literally, when Selvin comes, his hands ignite. Like he loses control of his magic and his hands light on fire. So that was interesting. He did not burn her though. And they were in a pool, so I guess if he really had to, he could just stick him right down in the water.
Starts boiling right around his hands.
So when they're all done, he worries that he has hurt her somehow, and she says no, she's still floating. She says it was great. She loves this. So he carries them back. Oh, they left the pool at some point. So he carries them back into the pool and cleans her up, and then to the sleeping furs, which this is the second time that I have read a book with sleeping furs in it, and they do not sound comfortable to me.
Probably not,
because I have seen furs like just like a pelt, and they're like thin. I have no idea how they sleep on a cave floor on a bunch of furs, but he has like a bunch of them in his bag. Like he carries around a messenger bag full of comfort items, which I think is great. I think we should all carry about a messenger bag full of comfort items at all times.
Absolutely.
So they have snuggles and aftercare. At that point, they eat. He combs her hair for her. They chat. They get to know each other a little more. They have one more day in the caves before they reach Belden. At this point. And Iris is not ready. I mean, she's having the time of her life right now. There's sex that actually cares, like a sex with a man who actually cares about her, good food, a bath. Can we just stay here?
There's no rush.
Yeah, let's just hang out for a while.
What's the rush?
The next morning, Selvin washes Iris's dress for her before she wakes up and rewraps her feet for her, which is like how he wakes her up. He's like wrapping her feet up as she's like, good morning. He is very sad that it is their last day together, but he also does not believe he is good enough for her, and he does not believe he is worthy of love. So this is just a couple of good days in the caves for him, and she'll go on her way, and he'll go back to the caves by himself. They spend the day walking through the tunnels, and Iris teaches him new songs because that's all he has to keep himself entertained, is like singing songs in the tunnels, which sounds like a nightmare to me. I mean, I know I spend a lot of time on social media, but even if I didn't have social media, I'd still have books. Selvin doesn't even have books.
I don't know. I mean,
poor guy.
The acoustics in there, though, probably sound fantastic.
Oh, yeah. They're probably amazing, but, you know, he's been down there for a while.
Yeah. But he's got to
just songs.
He's got to know what book. I mean, man, sneak into town. Steal a book.
Yeah. I mean, technically, he wouldn't have to sneak into anywhere because he knows people on the other side.
Yeah, that's right,
dude, just go buy some books. But no, he's really into like the emotional self-flagellation of believing that he is completely unworthy of love because he's the reason his mother was killed. But he's not. He's not the reason his mother was killed. Fucking asshole people from town were the reason his mother was killed. Anyway, so they spend the day walking through the tunnels. They reach their final camping spot by a stream that's feeding into the tunnels, into the mouth of the cave that they will eventually exit through. Selvin catches fish for dinner. He uses his tail as a lure and just sort of like shivers it through the water and then just snatches up a fish. Prehensile tail, man.
Awesome.
Very useful.
I love that. That's cool as shit.
He makes a fire and he cooks the fish for her. While she soaks her feet in the cool water of the river coming into the cave. They have sex again after they are well fed. Iris blows Selvin. Top cock in her mouth, bottom cock gets the handy, in case anybody was concerned about one or the other not getting enough attention.
I was.
Well, that's okay. So, top cock in her mouth, bottom cock in her hand, and then his balls are in her other hand. She's working really hard right now.
Jeez.
We should all give her a little golf clap for how hard she's working on this. And then to return the favor, she then sits on his face and uses his horns like handlebars, which is just wonderful. Then Selvin eats Iris's ass. And Iris rides him. She squirts, but I am unclear how because there is a cock in her at the time. So I'm not sure exactly how she managed that, but and then he comes inside of her and he is concerned that he's going to get her pregnant at this point.
Yeah.
The next day, their whole dynamic is really strained because neither one of them wants to stop being with the other, but this is the point where now they're going to have to say goodbye. Their parting is imminent. They walk out of the cave into a beautiful valley covered in wild irises and freshly fallen snow. Selvin tries to be like, well, this is where I leave you. And Iris, initially she just like marches off. Like she's going to be strong and independent. And she's going to do this, but she stops at like 10 paces away and just collapses crying because she doesn't want him to go.
Yeah.
And he agrees to take her to the place where his friends live so that he can introduce them to her, and then he'll spend one more day with her, and then he'll go home.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows, like, he's like, if I stay another day and I leave tomorrow, it's going to hurt even worse. But he does it anyway because he can't stand to see her crying. On their walk to Belden, they can like see the capital city, which is called Elsinore, off in the distance. And he comments on like, that's the big city. That's where you can go, where all the shops are, where all of the good restaurants are, where all of like the, you know, whatever you want is out there. And that's also where their government building is located. It's a big tower. You can see it from where they are. And it is where the elected body governs rather than a king. So they have a democracy in Elsinore rather than the monarchy that they have over in wherever Grafsburg is. They go to the house of Elric and Marta. Elric is a very, very old man, and Marta is a middle-aged woman. They appear to be married. At this point, Iris can't figure out what the fuck is going on with that.
Probably common law.
Yeah.
You know.
They welcome them. They feed them. They love Selvin. They are so glad that he is back. This is Selvin's family, his version of a family. And he is very happy that he will be leaving Iris in such good hands because he loves Elric and Marta very much. While they're there, he like takes Marta off into the corner and slyly asks her for a magical plan B.
Took me a second to realize what you were talking about.
An emergency contraceptive because he came in her last night and the night before. Over dinner, in all caps, because I could not get over this, the horny smelling, because Selvin can smell when Iris is horny.
Yeah.
And you know how I feel about that. I hate it. They use it for flirtation purposes, and I was scandalized. I was like, what the fuck, dude?
She's like wafting it.
So she's basically staring at him and thinking about how good the dick is and how much she enjoys being with him, and he can smell it from across the table while he's talking to Elric, and they sort of like lock eyes and like knowingly glance at each other, and like he uses his tail to like pet her ankle and stuff, and I am like, stop it.
I know I've said this to you many times throughout the course of our relationship, but you draw the weirdest lines.
I do draw the weirdest lines, and I don't know why. I really just don't like the idea of someone being able to smell horniness. I don't know why. I don't like it. I don't like it.
No, sir.
No.
I don't like it.
It's usually described as being a sweet smell as well. Like, oh, it smells so sweet. I don't know why I don't like it.
I would imagine it's more of a musk, but that's just me.
I mean, I know what an actual crotch smells like, and it's much more musky than like, you know, a Krispy Kreme or something.
You don't like the idea of somebody smelling horny, but you'll call it a crotch.
It is a crotch.
I know it is a crotch, but the word is just so crotch.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right, fine. That's on me.
It is.
Anyway, back to the story. Elric and Marta are both magic users. Elric can shapeshift into any humanoid creature, and to prove it, he shapeshifts into like a sexy 30-something-year-old man instead of the old. He prefers to be the old man.
Yeah.
But he can be whoever he wants to be. And Marta can do levitation magic. So like when she walks in with dinner, she's just like floating a chicken. A cooked chicken, not just like a chicken.
Very confused chicken, losing its little chicken mind.
I'm not supposed to be able to fly.
I am flightless.
Short distances of fluttering. That's all I can do.
Do you mock me?
Anyway, so Marta and Elric can both do magic in addition to Selvin, who can do pyrokinetic magic. They are of, quote, the folk, the indigenous people of this land. They can all do magic. When humans came to whatever this land is, they don't really ever explain if it's like a continent or what. Like when humans came there, they initially tried to live alongside the folk, but they couldn't get their heads out of their own asses long enough to actually peacefully coexist. And so they chose to live on the other side of the mountain and just pretend the folk and their land do not exist. I would actually have preferred it that way. Can you imagine history if it went like, and then a bunch of white people came to the Americas and they found the indigenous and they left.
And then they fucked off.
And then nothing bad happened to people who did not deserve anything but goodness, you know?
Oh, you guys are already
Oh shit, sorry.
So
We'll
sorry.
go. We'll go.
Yeah.
Instead,
Guys.
it was all like smallpox blankets and fuckery. Anyway, Marta invites them to stay in the cottage. And when I first read that, I was like, what, you just have a spare cottage lying around?
Do
just
you not?
A spare cottage? But they explain that more later. Selvin says, no, it's fine. We'll sleep in the hayloft. And Marta, like, she puts her foot down so fucking hard that I got whiplash reading it. I was like, this sweet woman just full Molly Weasley'd it, for like lack of a better word. She stands up. She's like, smashes her hands down on the table and starts screaming at him that there is no way she is going to make this poor young woman sleep in a fucking hayloft when there was a perfectly good cottage right up the trail. Like, Jesus Christ, Selvin, you dumbass. So he decides that he will go and do that.
Okay, Marta.
Probably for the best. And Marta's going to get her some new clothes while he and Elric go and prep the cottage. As he leaves, he whispers some really fucking sexy shit into her ear. I don't remember what it was. I just put a sweating emoji there. But I remember it being something along the lines of like, she can give you new clothes, but as soon as you get to the cottage, they're coming right off, or something like that. Yeah. Marta takes Iris up to her room and gives her several very nice dresses because her sister is a seamstress, and so she's got like a bunch of extra clothes lying around and a new nightgown. She brushes and braids Iris's hair and like gives her a really pretty hairpin to wear and all sorts of stuff. And she tells her the story of how they met Selvin. From feral stray to foster child is what I wrote here, because she explained, she's like, he wandered out of the forest, or he wandered out of the tunnels, and he was stealing vegetables from our garden, and so we started putting food at the mouth of the cave, and eventually we coaxed him out enough to like come out and actually talk to us like you would with a stray cat.
Yeah.
And then he would come and visit regularly. They taught him how to use his magic. They taught him how to do most things because he didn't have a parent from a certain point. He didn't have a parent to help him learn how to be a fully functional adult. And then one summer they built him the cottage, hoping that they could coax him into staying there. They think of him like a son, but he will not leave the caves because he thinks it's the penance that he has to pay for his mother's death.
Go to medieval therapy.
Seriously, ye old therapist. Call ye old BetterHelp. Marta then offers Iris the magical plan B, and Iris takes it, thankfully, which is like, that's all. That was one of the things I loved the most about this book, was it was like, hey, can you get her a plan B? She might need one.
Yeah,
I'll get her one, but it's her choice whether she wants to take it. Yeah. Well, obviously. Hey, do you want this? Yes, thank you. Yeah. And that was all.
My pullout game is terrible.
But there was no like big, like weighty conversation about the importance of like making your choice. She just made her choice. Yeah. And everybody was just cool with it because of course you should be just cool with it. Right. But whatever. In the cottage, while Marta and Iris are doing their girl talk in the cottage, Elric and Selvin are having an argument. Selvin thinks that he has to go back because he has to pay his penance, and Elric calls him out on all of his bullshit, yells at him for several minutes about how he deserves to be happy and his mother would want him to be happy, and there's no reason why he can't just fucking knock it off with this self-flagellation shit. And Selvin immediately just crumbles, starts crying, falls to his knees. It's the first time apparently that Elric has called him on this. Maybe he could have saved him several years of living alone in a cave, but
yeah, seriously,
I'm not here to question their choices. Selvin realizes that he does deserve a good life and he wants to stay with Iris. Fucking duh. You do deserve a good life, my guy. Your trauma does not preclude you from having a good life.
Yeah, man.
Iris arrives with Marta, and then Marta and Elric very quickly leave. Selvin and Iris just begin the fucking. They just start There's a power play moment where Iris tells Selvin he needs to beg her to eat her out, which was fun. I enjoyed that. Then there is a standing face ride. Good for them.
Okay.
And Selvin uses his magic for temperature play. So he basically lights his thumb on fire until it gets really warm, and then he presses it onto her clit. What? It's safe.
I mean, if it was just on fire.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Well, I mean, temperature play does involve like candle wax and stuff. You can get pretty hot on the human skin if they're into it.
I'm not. I'm good.
Well, okay, then we won't do temperature play. It's fine by me. Once they are done with that, with her first orgasm, Iris asks for more temperature play and more magic in the sex because she thinks that's great. So he walks outside for a second, and he comes back inside with an icicle, a giant icicle that he has pulled off the side of the house, and he uses it to fuck her ass.
That's not magic.
No, that's not magic. That's just resourceful.
I thought he was gonna like pull a rabbit out of her or something. But
no.
Is this your car?
So he uses the icicle to fuck her ass, and then he puts one cock into her, and
as a treat.
And she says no, she wants both, and so he puts both dicks in her vagina. And I was like, damn, girl. I know it's stretchy. I have had 2 children. I understand that it is stretchy, but damn, that sounds like a lot.
That's
good for you.
It's one too many dicks. I mean, that's, again, personal opinion. One too many dicks.
And then he does use his magic to make his fingers warm. So then it's cold icicle, warm fingers on the clit. She just fucking comes like a freight train at that point. Fast and on time. And and then he comes to, and once they're all done, they get cleaned up. And Iris asks about Selvin's age because it never really occurred to her to ask him this. But from context clues from the conversation inside earlier, she realized that he's older than he looks. He's 76.
Okay.
And Marta and Elric are significantly older than him, even. But magic users don't age like humans do. Something about the magic keeps them alive and younger for longer. So she starts freaking out, worrying that she's going to die a long time before he is. And she doesn't want to do that to him. And he's like, no, we don't know that. We don't know any of that for sure. Calm down.
Yeah.
It's all, if you want to learn how to if you can use magic even, then it will have the same effects on you most likely, right? But he says that no matter what happens, his life begins and ends with her. And they fall asleep together, and it's very, very sweet. The next morning when they wake up, they go to Elric and Marta's house and they have breakfast together. And Selvin tells Marta that he has finally decided to stay, and they are going to stay in the cottage. And she is fucking thrilled because she's been wanting this for 50 years or something, probably.
Since you were 42 or whatever.
And they have a celebratory breakfast. She cries. And he thinks about how happy he will be now that he finally has a family, and Iris will always be by his side. And that is the end of the book, but there is an epilogue. 1 year later, Selvin and Iris have a daughter. Her name is Wren. She's adorable and tiny, and she also has a tail, which I think is super cute because she's a quarter demon.
I was going to say, imagine our daughter, but with a tail.
I know. Oh, she would be adorable with their big eyes and her little curls and a tail. Oh, I'd love it. I mean, she's sort of a little demon unto herself.
I was going to say.
But that's just because she's 2.
I was going to, you want a fun game? Just tell her no.
You want to see? You want to see her power?
Exactly.
And she just starts screaming.
Dee Dee Katzenberg's got nothing on her.
For real. So Iris is out in the field with Marta working on her magic. Her magic is that she can grow flowers immediately out of the ground. And so she does that, and then Elric takes them into town and sells them. Fucking amazing. You don't have to worry about waiting for them to grow or like taking the time to nurture them. You can just...
Right. That'd be so great.
Somebody ordered like 50 tulips. right out of the ground. Just chop them up, take them off. Anyway, so Elric is on his way back from a meeting with the council in the Spire. And when he returns, he has a letter for Selvin. And the letter basically says that they have made a trade agreement with Grafsburg. And part of that trade agreement is that that Grafsburg will no longer be making sacrifices in the caves. In the last year, they have made signs and things, and people go into the caves to check for sacrifices and make sure, but there hasn't been another one. But now there officially will not be any more sacrifices in the caves, and Selvin is, quote, released from his duties. Although the council were not the ones who gave them those duties, they ceremoniously take those duties away from him. And they live fucking happily ever after. And it's sweet and lovely and adorable, and everything works out perfect. And it was a great little book for me to read during a very hard week, and I loved it.
I was going to say, that is a perfect combination of two things that you love, smut and cozy things. Your favorite video games are cozy games.
Yes.
And usually you've got an audio book going in your ear that's, smutty and all fucky,
Yeah.
So this is just, and it was nice.
It's like the definition of my life, like listening to a smutty book while playing Spiritfarer or something.
Yeah. And I was very happy to not have to worry that, the other trauma shoe was going to drop or something or whatever. And it was like, no, it's just, no, man, it's cool. And got some weird dicks and, and some lightheartedness and some humor. Fuck yeah. I'm all about it. I had a blast with that one.
Yeah, me too. It was a delightful little read, and I really enjoyed it. It was warm and cozy and happy. It was nice.
Yeah, and from a production standpoint, it's gonna be a blast and a breeze to edit.
Hooray! Happy to help. Happy to help with the editing process by making it slick and simple. Next week is going to be a big week because A Soul to Keep is a big book and it gets kind of dark. So we'll have some fun with that one.
I will prepare. So what are we reading next week?
Next week we are reading A Soul to Keep by Opal Rain. I have already started it. I'm only in the prologue, but the world building is already fantastic. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, this and to reiterate what we said in previous episodes, this was a listener request.
Yes, this was requested
TikTok.
by a TikToker who came to our page to ask if we could read it. And absolutely, if you want to reach out to us and ask us to read a specific book, I'll do it. Absolutely. Whatever book it is that you want me to read. Keeping in mind that I prefer not to read abuse.
Yeah.
So I won't be reading any cohos. For anybody out there who knows what that is, I don't read her. Anyway.
That'd be Colleen Hoover.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Look at you. You know who Colleen Hoover is. And so do I, but I don't read her.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the end of our episode, I think.
Yeah.
David, do you want to lead us out?
Absolutely. You can find us on social media. We are on Instagram and TikTok at Cheap Smut. If you like to send us an email, you can do that. cheapsmutpod@gmail.com. The music that we use in every episode is called Nostalgia by Mackay Beats. You can find that along with thousands of other free songs for your use at freemusicarchive.org. Please, when you find us on your favorite podcasting platforms, please rate, review, and subscribe because that is the best way that we can continue to expand our reach and get more listeners. Not because we're trying to make money off this podcast. We are not by any means doing that.
Hell no.
We are just trying to expand the community that we have started to find here because it's a delightful little community, and we love all of you for partaking in this with us.
Absolutely. I love every single person who takes the time to listen because I love these books and I love sharing them with people. In the meantime, listener, if there is a book in you, write it, and if there's fucking in it, I'll read it.
And then she will come on this show and explain it to me for your entertainment.
Let's go do other things.
Yes, let's.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.